You're listening to Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, a podcast that encourages you to love more in your friends and to further consider the issues that plague friendships. I'm Alysa Lucas, and here's the thing. We often focus on qualities we look for in our friends. And this is me included. I've probably focused on many of these topics for several episodes of this very podcast. But I've been thinking about how this specific perspective focuses more on what we want from others and not so much on what we give or what we should contribute to our friendships. Sure, on this podcast we cover those too, but I wanted to dedicate an entire episode to a different perspective, focusing on being the friend we want or wish we had. As you might imagine, this different perspective was inspired by something from class with my awesome students. My university is online like many other schools, and so we interact in a Facebook group with discussion threads, and I go live with content. We just finished week 3, and I actually think things are going okay. Fairly well for now. I had a few bumps in the road, but starting to work like a well-oiled machine, perhaps. But this past week in my interviewing class, I was talking about how to conduct focus group interviews and then how we could analyze the data a focus group would produce. So for those of you who aren't familiar, focus group is an interview with a group of people. So there'd be me and maybe 5 to 7 other people, and I would ask them questions about my academic research, or it could be a product, thinking about like marketing or advertising. But the idea of a focus group is that the group effect brings people together and having ideas and conversating amongst one another, in which to produce data or information for the person running the focus group. So if you want to learn more, let me know or Google focus groups. Obviously, this isn't a research methods podcast. But what I wanted to do was go over how to analyze data. And to do that, I was like, well, let's have them produce the data. So I asked them a question we could use to practice on. And I'm sure you're not surprised to hear that the question I asked was this. What are the most important qualities you look for in a friend, right? You're like, look at you, always thinking and talking about friendship. And if you're thinking that, you are absolutely correct. They wrote such beautiful passages and explanations about the qualities they value and the reasons why these qualities are so important to them. And for many of them, you could really feel the passion for their friends through the words they had. So in a focus group, you would be there live, face to face, but because we're online, we're translating that to the online system. So we were practicing things via words and not also having that interaction face to face. So, but the idea that you could still get a sense of how they felt about their friendships through the words was pretty amazing. We, of course, did the analysis of the data in class, but here's what's important for us right now. This quick home friendship task produced over 100 entries of qualities. Some were duplicates and some were unique on their own. But overall, the top traits included across the class, and I also asked 10 of my friends. Okay, number 1, support. That's what we're looking in friends. We need someone to lean on. Number 2, humor. And I love this because we got to have fun. We have to enjoy our friends. And gosh, how many inside jokes do we have with our friends, and just think about all the good times. Number 3 from this small data set was loyalty. So showing them that you're consistently and reliably there for them. Number 4 is honesty. And Lauren came on the podcast to talk about if honesty is the best policy. It's certainly something we look for in a friend, and then exactly what we want with honesty would be a more nuanced question that might come later. Number 5 is empathy. We want someone who understands us. 6, we want trust. And number 7, we want someone who listens. So you might be thinking, sounds about right. Based on previous episodes, your friendships, right? Your own friendships. And you're watching a media focused on friendships, right? A good one to watch that I have on the queue coming up is Stand By Me, one of the greatest movies of all time. One of my favorite movies about male friendship. But yeah, we watch movies and we can be like, oh yeah, we see those qualities, loyalty, honesty. Yeah, it's all there. What's the big surprise, right? But this different perspective I'm thinking about is for each of us to consider if these 7 traits I just revealed as if I just unveiled them like a magic trick. No, just shared with you is whether or not we consider that these are traits that we bring to our friendships ourselves. So it's not just wanting it, it's is that what we emulate in our friendships? And even more, are you the kind of friend you would want to be friends with? Are you the kind of friend you wish you had at a particular point in your life? It's a great time to think about such a topic because we're doing new and different things to stay connected during this time of isolation. So, as you innovate and create new and fun ways to contact and connect with your friends, think about what you're doing to contribute to the friendship. What qualities of a friend are you particularly strong in? And of course, is there room for improvement? Now, if you're thinking, I haven't thought about many ways in which to create connections with friends, well, then that might be something to work on, right? Would you want your friends to connect with you during isolation? Because if so, then that might be something that you also would want to do for your own friends. So maybe it's my style of teaching or my very own personality, but I do think a lot about how I can improve myself, thinking about how I can improve a class or a skill. And trust me, there are things I suck at, things that I avoid or continuously struggle at. One of those things is, I'm going to share with you, is discipline, right? And you're like, but you put out an episode nearly every week. But I'm thinking like day to day, like the little stuff. For me, I just can't do it. So I'm always thinking about, okay, how can I make that happen? I have reminders on my phone. I have an app called Done where I can put things that I want to do each day and then I can check them off and it color codes and makes a noise when you check it off. It's a to-do list come to life and it's very exciting. But those are the sorts of things I think about. And if that doesn't work, what else can I do if I want to be someone who is disciplined in doing the small things in life that add up to getting the big things done, right? And that's just a little bit of me, right? But here's how I sort of operate. And again, this is me. We all operate in different ways, but this hopefully will help you understand where I'm coming at for this type of perspective. And so this is what I do. When things happen, or I'm thinking about the thing that I might need to improve on, or it's been kind of shoved in my face and I say that kindly and with much respect, when you know that startle or that surprise when you learn like maybe you've done something that you shouldn't have, or you realize that your lack of discipline has, disappointed someone else, that I am someone who very much sits in the feelings. Like, I'm going to be mad, I'm going to be frustrated, I'm going to be sad, I'm going to be anxious, whatever. But let me sort of soak in it. Like it's a bath of anxiety. And you're like, oh, that sounds terrifying. But it's just something I do. And it's not like I'm in it for 20 minutes. It might be like 2 days, it might be 2 weeks. But the idea is that it's that time I need to sort of feel my feelings. But then, kind of like a switch, and that's me snapping my fingers like a switch, I then move into, okay, let's put something into action. And you might be going, Alysa, that might actually sound like a version of discipline. And you might be right. But it's just the way I've always operated. So if I've had a bad day at work, let me soak in it. Let me vent. Let me eat my junk food. Let me watch my TV. Let me be off on my own, whatever the case is. And then the next day I wake up and I'm like, all right, let's put this thing into action. How can we fix this thing? And that's just sort of how I've always operated in all realms of my life, whether it be the workplace, my relationships, for myself. And so my point is this. We all have our own systems. We have the ways that we try to improve upon things. We have ways in which we reflect. And so as you're home and you're thinking about ways in which to connect with friends, maybe this is a time to think about a few other things. First, maybe take an inventory on your strengths and weaknesses in terms of friendship qualities. You could second reflect on what you want or wish you had, and if you give those things as well to your friends. Third, you could reflect on the qualities you admire in others that you'd like to emulate. And finally, who do you like to connect with? and how to reconnect to them or maybe maintain an ongoing friendship as it is. And, as you're getting creative, this is a great time to connect with people that you might have fallen out of sync with, right? And that can sort of move you into that reflection and action sort of moments I'm talking about. Because what we put out, we're more likely to get. So if we start thinking about these things and we put them into action, we might see we're actually getting the things that we want in friendship because we're giving the things that we want in friendship. You're like, Alysa, that's the golden rule. And that's exactly right. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Be the change you want to see in the world. And I like this one too. Quote, become the friend you wish you had, and you'll attract what you are. End quote. In a web article for Project Inspired, Rebecca Hargraves outlines 4 principles that can help us do just this. So the idea is if you want to think about being the friend you want, the first thing is you have to be an initiator. We talk about this a lot, right? That if you want to have friends, you have to initiate friendships, right? You have to put yourself out there, and it might be equally or as bad as dating, but there's something really we need these friendships, so we got to put ourselves out there. And so someone who's friendly is likely to have more friends. Someone who's likely to put themselves out there might have more opportunities to make friends. So that's the first principle Rebecca talks about in her web post. The second thing she says is sometimes people will decline, and that's going to happen. Reciprocation is not always going to be something that happens. And so then we have to initiate again. And if we initiate again with the same person, they're likely to agree upon something, like maybe they were busy before, so coffee didn't work. And so you initiate again, and they're like, you know what, I would like to go do that. Or I would like to talk to you on FaceTime. Or trivia via Zoom with some other friends sounds like an awesome idea, right? And so initiate again, but also consider that if you keep initiating with the same person and they never accept, it might be time to move on. And don't they say there are plenty of fish in the sea? So, the third principle that Rebecca talks about in her web article is being a good friend. That is essentially the golden rule, right? So, what does it mean to be a good friend? Well, we can look to those 7 qualities, but there's so much more. I had over 100 entries of qualities. And so there's lots of things, and there might be things that are unique to you, unique to your friend, unique to your friendship, right? And so knowing those things can help you be a good friend. It can help you be a better friend. And then it can also help you think about what might be needed in other friendships or newer friendships, right? Okay, what does it mean to be a good friend for this new friend that I have, right? That's important. And then finally, she talks about how to stand up for boundaries and refraining from being an enabler and, not getting involved in toxic friendships and other dysfunctions. Like, just because we're looking for friends doesn't mean we need to settle, right? That we're looking for people that are going to be the friend we want or need or wish we had. And that's what we're going to be for other people. And if someone can't do that, then it's like, bye, right? And maybe it's not like that. I know friendship endings and breakups and transitions and ghosting, all that can be very difficult. They can be difficult conversations to have. They can be difficult to cope with, but it doesn't mean we need to stick around just because this person is supposed to be our friend. This is actually really cool. Earlier tonight, I was able to Zoom in and talk to a Girl Scout troop about friendship. And it wasn't so much that we were talking about boundaries and toxic friendships and breakups and things of that nature, but we were talking about what it means to be a friend and how we can connect to friends and all sorts of interesting topics as they work on their badge related to happiness and friendship. And one of the things that we did talk about is that we have lots of different friends over our lifespan, right? They might not remember their first friend because it was something that they were brought together by their caregivers and maybe they're not friends anymore. So, we do have boundaries. We develop over time what it means to be a good friend, and that changes as we have friendships. And then we start to learn more about ourselves for what we stand for and what we'll fall for. And I think that is something to, much like the rest of this, is to reflect on because the idea is that just because our parents put us together doesn't mean we have to take bullshit from someone, right? So it is putting in the work to making friends, although it can be challenging to do so. And as I talk about a lot, maintaining those friendships is really important. So thinking about these principles, thinking about making friendships, maintaining them, it can be harder now because we are in isolation, but there's a lot of fun and creative ways to connect with friends, which I guess this is a good time to plug that I'm doing a connection tip of the day every single day via my Instagram stories. So follow me at Best Forevers Pod on Instagram and check out my stories because I make funny drawings and I try to be funny, but I'm probably just being like lame and doing dad jokes. So if you need, some of that in your life, then be sure to follow. But I am really trying to think about different ways that we can stay connected during this time. So come check them out. But even more, it may be about being the friend you absolutely needed at a certain time. So Rebecca's talking about this is how you can be the friend that you want to be, right? Like this is become the friend you wish you had and you'll attract what you are. And so putting yourself out there, you're going to get those friends. But also think about, was there a time in your life when you needed a friend? So when I was doing a Google search for this particular episode, I came across an image that I thought was particularly compelling and powerful. And it was an image of a woman sleeping on the couch and then another woman holding a baby over their, what do you call them? Beds? Cribs. That's what you call them. Hi, I don't have children. I have animals. It's a crib. Okay, so the image said, quote, be the friend you wish you had when your babies were newborns, end quote. And then it made me think of some others. Be the friend you wish you had when you were depressed and couldn't wash the dishes. Be the friend you wish you had when you and your partner broke up. Be the friend you wish you had when your parent passed away. Be the friend you wish you had when you lost your job. Be the friend you wish you had when you had surgery. Be the friend you wish you had when you moved to a new town. And maybe these are moments that might be seen as maybe not our best days, but we can also think about those best days too. Be the friend you wish you had when you got engaged. Be the friend you wish you had when you were promoted. Be the friend you wish you had when you lost 30 pounds. Be the friend you wish you had when you got a new puppy. Be the friend you wish you had when you turned 40. Be the friend you wish you had when you closed on your new house. Be the friend you wish you had when you won that really awesome award. Were there moments in life when you needed a friend or wish you had a friend? This is something to reflect on. Sit in those feelings like Alysa would and then put them into action. What are some action items here, though? How can we be these things for our friends? Is it perhaps having a special savings account, like a rainy day account, but it's for our friends? And then we can send flowers when, a parent has passed. Maybe you get that dog a new toy, a wine for when you close on the house, ice cream for the breakup, travel for the 40th birthday. There are probably a number of tangible ways in which we can help people that might require some funding. But there's also a lot we can do that is free. When your babies were newborns, could a friend help you by letting you sleep and take care of the baby for you? When you're depressed, could a friend help you wash your dishes? When your relationship ended, could a friend lend a shoulder to cry on? When you got the house, could they do a FaceTime tour? When you got that puppy, could they come play with them? What do you need? What do you want? And then how can we implement those needs and wishes into being the kind of friends for others? So let me know your ideas. Some people may be naturally gifted at knowing what to do or what to say. I have many friends who are, and I'm in awe of them and how they respond and support and do things for people. And it's very inspiring, and it's definitely qualities that I would like to emulate in my friendships. But for others, maybe like myself, and working on that discipline, there are concrete actions that can be extremely helpful. So, for example, I might be one who sets a reminder on my phone as sort of a nudge, nudge, your friend is doing a job hunt, or nudge, nudge, your friend is working on their dissertation, or nudge, nudge, they've been going through this difficult time. So, here's a reminder, have you checked on them? right? Because it might be something that I think about when they're right in front of me, but they might be in it with that dissertation. They might be in it with that job hunt. They might be in it for whatever is going on. And so they're all consumed by it. And although you might be thinking of them, you might be praying for them, sometimes we have all these daily things that happen or that need to happen every single day. And sometimes those things can slip our memory. But if that's the friend you want or wish you had, then those are the steps that we might need to take to ensure we can be that friend. So, part of this reflection, though, I think goes back to the common qualities people look for in our friends that I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, and that my lovely students helped me produce for that class activity. So, the first one was support. So, if you're reflecting on this, one of the things is how do you provide support for your friends? Do you know what kinds of support works best for your friends and for different types of friends? Because this is a great reminder that support is not a blanket thing that we can do for everyone. Not everyone is going to need or want the same kind of support, right? That there are people that I can be quite supportive of, and then there's other people whose what they need is not from me, and that is completely understandable, right? We all have different needs. Certainly, if I don't know what your needs are or I don't ask about them, then I might continuously do my sort of default support mechanism, and it may or may not work for you. And the classic example that I give is that some people will vent because they want to release their feelings and they just want someone to listen. And the person on the other end of that line is trying to solve their problems. And that support doesn't work for them. However, that's the person you call when you need solutions, right? Those are action-oriented people. But if you're someone who's like always like, well, let's find the answer. Let's get this going. Let's get to the But hey, don't forget Alysa sits in her feelings for a day or an hour or a week. And so solutions are not going to work right now. But the next morning she's going to wake up and she's going to be like, boom, I need your solutions. So being a supportive friend might be knowing what kind of support we might be good at giving, understanding the different types of support that our friends do well with, and how we can sort of adapt our support for the people in our life, right? The second one, which I adore being number 2, I just absolutely love the fact that humor is number 2. And so what kind of fun is reflective of your friendship, and how can you keep it going? How can you keep that fun going in your friendships? Can you come up with new ways to continue fun? Is it about reminiscing about jokes and good times? And don't all friends have those inside jokes? Is there a meme that would just set anyone off? And I'm just thinking about the episode. Was it A Murder of Karens, where the friends called each other Karen? And so I can just imagine how many Karen memes go back and forth between those friends, right? That is their humor. That's what's special to their friendship. And so again, we can't treat all of our friends the same. And some of the reflection might be, what kind of humor do I have with this friend? Or what are sort of the things that are the good times and the jokes for our friends that we can create new ones or remember the old times? Number 3 is loyalty. And loyalty might mean different things to different people. So what does it mean to you and your friends? And how do you show loyalty to your friends on a daily basis? Are there small things that you do, or is it the silence that communicates the loyalty, right? It's just being that person that is always there when they need them to be, defending the friend. I mean, that's one of the things where conversations about some of these topics can be really helpful for friends getting on the same page. And as you can start to see, that each of our friendships is different. And so some of us have many friendships, and other of us have really close, a smaller group of very close friends. And so depending on how many friends you have, there might be more that you need to adapt to. But that's part of being a friend, right? If that's what you want from a friend is individual treatment, then that's what you will want to give your friends as well. Number 4 is honesty. What kind of honesty works for your friendship and at what time? And notice I say kind and time because there are differing levels of honesty, right? There's brutal honesty, there's partial honesty, it's, little glove honesty, it's big glove honesty. Certain times, like if they're going into a large presentation, is it something where you want to make them feel worse, or do you want to hype them up, or is it they're trying to decide what to wear for this large function and that might be a time to be like, that's not going to work, right? Doesn't that happen a lot during wedding dress shopping? I would imagine. But this was an episode that Lauren came on and joined me with, and we talked about if honesty is the best policy. And certainly we each have our own different point of view on honesty, but it's also like, how does honesty work in friendship? Because we might have different points of view. Number 5 is empathy. Do you and your friends share your feelings with each other? Some people might be much more willing to do that. And so they might be having these conversations all along and might not have to do individual reflection, so to speak. But then the other thing to consider is, how do you show that you understand each other? Right? How do you show that you are on the same page, or that you are with them through this time that they might be experiencing? And I think empathy is not something that is talked about as in depth or as frequently as these other qualities, and I think could make a really interesting episode. So I'll add that to my list of things to think about so that we can do a deeper dive. But I really do think that the crux of this is understanding each other, right? That's what we're getting at. And how do you let each other know that you understand? Is it, and some people are just kindred spirits, right? You just get each other, right? You just get it. And then sometimes there are some topics you might not be on the same page. How do you get there? Trust, which I've done an episode on. How have you shown your friend that you can be trusted? This might be a lot like loyalty, where it's one of those things that's quietly happening in the background. It's a million little things added up together to make this one really big feeling of, I know that you have my back. I know that you have my secrets. I know you have my life in your hands, and I am 100,000% on board with those things. That you're the person that I want to give my secrets to. That is trust. And 7, and I also, like, I adore that humor's on this list as number 2, but I also am very excited about number 7. This is such a good one. And that is listening. Friends, I think at this particular moment right now, okay, empathy is added to the future list. But I think because I love the idea of listening and talking about listening so much, we've got next week's episode. I'm already thinking about it, not even done recording this one, and I've already got ideas for listening. So stay tuned for that. But here's the thing about listening. Listening is one of the activities that we do the most. We learn about it the least, and we often think we're better at it than we actually are. And I'm going to include myself in that group, right? That in general, most of us, we could work on listening. So how do you show that you listen? And you're like, I nod my head, and ooh-wee, we'll talk about that next week. But that's a skill, right? Like if you're like, I wish I was a better listener, well, then these are the ways that you can do that. And we'll have that in an episode, and that can be something you can listen to, and you say, I reflected, and then I put it into action just like Alysa would. Okay. So what do you think, friends? Is this something you do already? Maybe informally you do sort of a checklist, a mental checklist of, or inventory on how you feel about your friendships, about your contribution to the friendships? Or do you do something more formally where you reflect on friendships and journal about it, or read about it, come up with ways to make connections, or listen to podcasts? I don't know, maybe this one. Or even further, maybe you and your friends talk about these topics. I'd love to hear about it. Even more, what qualities do you offer to a friendship? Maybe from the list of qualities that are some that you excel at and others that you could work on, right? And what do you wish for and need from a friend? As I always say, tell me everything. I want to know. You can message me at on email at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And you can connect with me on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at bestforeverspod. I love to hear any of your thoughts about this perspective, any of your thoughts about reflection. How do you go about reflecting on things and putting things into action? What are some action items that you do? What can you share? What are ways in which you're connecting with your friends now? What are some things that you wished for, right? What kind of friends have you wished for? Again, I want to know it. Tell me. Feed me. I'm like the plant from Little Shop of Horrors, but just like kinder and cuter. Feed me, Seymour. Feed me all the details. So until next time, friends, think about the qualities you want or wish for in a friend, but also what qualities you bring to a friendship. Because without our friends, who would we be? Thanks for listening to Best Forevers. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and of course, share with a friend. Please be sure to follow Best Forevers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Best Forevers Pod, and I'm at Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. You can always find the podcast webpage for more information at bestforeverspod.com, and share your stories of friendship by emailing me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support the movement to love on our friends more, check out the podcast on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. Now, friends, check out this recommended podcast that you must get in your ear holes immediately.
Hey everyone, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Emily, and we're from Whining About Herstory.
Ever notice how women seem to be missed, forgotten, or maybe even purposely left out of history books?
We did, so we decided to take the his out of history and make it herstory.
Each episode, we discuss the lives and general awesomeness of these historical Wonder Women, all while having a glass of wine.
Or maybe a bottle. Come join us on all of your favorite podcast platforms at WAH Pod on Instagram, WAH_pod on Twitter, and at whiningaboutherstory.com. Remember, that's no H or E in whining.
See you
soon.
Cheers!